Okay, the first thing to do is open up your outliner, and it's going to look something like this. The first thing that we select is the hips here, and I do that just by clicking on it to deselect anything else that I might have had selected in the scene. Okay? Don't worry about anything that's glowing like this if you've only clicked on the hips, because that indicates that you have something that is parented. In this case, this is parented, or the group is parented, and this is a part of that group that is parented to one of the joints, and that's why it's highlighted in green. So there's nothing going on here that is incorrect or going to cause any errors. But if you come over here and you click on the hips, that'll deselect anything else. And the first thing that you do want to do is hold down Shift and click on the plus sign. That's going to allow you to drop everything down so you don't have to keep clicking on these little plus signs. Now, I'm going to briefly go over selecting things. And the selections of the joints that we are going to have, your naming convention should be a little bit different than mine because I had to do a few modifications on the fly. As you can see where I didn't label my joints, and I'm not really going to label them now because I can just kind of click on them and see which ones they are. Okay? Now, I'm going to come down, and the first thing that I want to click on is going to be the hips override. And I'm going to find that right there. And the reason I like to start with that is because I don't want to accidentally have those hips still selected, and I don't want to forget about the hips override. And the way that we can get around not selecting anything else in here that isn't something that we wanted to select, so no accidental selections, is basically to hold down Control and click on the joints that we want to have selected inside of the outliner. That way we don't have to worry about selecting anything in between those joints, because if you hold down Shift and you click on something, you're going to get something that looks like that, which indicates you have everything highlighted in light blue selected, and we don't want any of the aim constraints or any of the effectors and stuff like that to be a part of this binding process. You're going to get an error and you're going to have to go back and deselect them anyhow. So I start with the hips override. Just click on that. You'll see that the hips are no longer selected. They look as though they are, but remember, anything in like this dark blue is not selected. It's just indicating that something inside of this branch, which is all parented stuff, so one of the children of this parent, which is the hips, is selected. So I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm going to start clicking on the spine joints. And I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to hold down Control and click on some of these, which look to be the neck joints. I'll click on the head joint, which is the base right here, the base of the character's head, right there. And I'll see what joint 5 is. It looks like joint 5 may be, what is the skull, right up here. I don't really need to bind anything to that. So I'm not going to bind anything to, I believe, what's called the skull in the notes. I'm going to skip that. I don't need to bind anything to the left eye joint or the right eye joint. Not anything of this character's geometry, anyhow. So I'm going to come down. So joint 6 seems to be this guy right here. And that one's okay. We could bind to that. Joint 7 I'm going to leave up to you guys. I'm going to refrain from binding that joint. So I'm going to act as though that's kind of like one of the fingertips, and I'm just going to paint the weights to go along with this joint right here. So the whole jaw, this whole guy right here, will be controlled by that little joint right there. As I come down, I can hold down Control, click on the shoulder joints, left forearm roll, wrist, pinky 1 and 2, but not the end, or not the tip. And if it says 3, then you leave that blank. Whatever is the last one for the pinky and for the ring finger and middle finger, you do not do. So, for example, I'll hold down Control, and I'm going to click on these two for the ring finger, but not the last one for the ring finger, because that is the tip. The same for the middle finger, the index finger, and the thumb. Don't worry about my naming conventions. I believe I grabbed this file from somebody else, and I probably should have gone over it and renamed them, but I do know that these, even based off of the branching system that we learned and talked about in class, are the end joints, and we don't really need to worry about those ones because we don't want to bind those. I'm going to keep coming down here, hold down control, right shoulder, forearm, forearm roll, wrist, and there's the right pinky, right ring, right middle, right index, and right thumb. No ends. I'm going to come down some more, and there's my hips override. There's the left leg, calf, ankle, ball. I don't have to worry about the end, the toe. The right leg, so the thigh, calf, ankle, ball. And again, I do not have to worry about this end joint here, the very tip right here, because the front of this foot can be controlled by this guy right here, the roll. Now, what seemed to be like it was going to be a hard process is actually pretty easy. You can see that we've gone over that in just a few minutes. And what I'm going to do here, because I'm pretty sure that I need to optimize my geometry, is that I'm going to make a quick selection set of these joints. The way to do that is to go up to Create and go down to Sets. And I'm going to go down to Quick Select Set. Now, a quick select set is going to allow us to not have to come back here and select these joints again. What we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to take these joints and we're going to be able to put them in this set so that we can call on them and have them selected just by going to our quick select set name. And while I give this a name, I'm just going to call it joint skinning selection, and that's not really an important name, just name it something that makes sense to you. And I'm just going to hit OK. If you hit add to shelf, it's going to, let's see if I can do this real quick. No, it doesn't want to let me do it because I'm trying to name it. So let me name it. How about I do joints for skinning? And I'll just go to click on OK. If you were to hit add to shelf, it's basically going to add it to this section right here. And then you can click on an icon and it would select all those joints. Otherwise, if I were to deselect them, when I optimize the geometry in the next step, or the next tutorial, I would be able to go up to Edit, down to Quick Select Sets, and Joints for Skinning. And you're going to see that it selects all my joints. If you're not sure and you just want to make sure, that's totally fine. Just go to Window, down to Outliner, and scroll down through here and check everything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save this and we're going to move on.